While we're waiting, I have a question. Remember I gave you information about jet title? They come to you.
Yeah.
And they called me and asked if you know, to sit down with me and give me more of a spiel because I'd met them through the real estate.
Thanks, Kristen.
I don't know if that's anything that the office would be interested in, if they came and made a presentation about what they do. Is that something you can say?
Well, and I don't mean to be, if I had everybody come in, they want to come and do a presentation, that's all we would do.
Right.
So I'm pretty set with my title.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you were here a couple weeks ago or 2 months ago for the sales meeting we had. One of the brokers in the office was like, you got to check out this new platform from this new lender. I didn't vet them very well. They came in and total mistake. And I'm like, why did I do this? I know better. So, anyway.
Well, meet with them and just let them give me a spiel.
Yeah. So, that's all right. So, hi, Sharon, since you're the one watching us.
Oh,
Does everybody, you don't want to be on camera?
I really don't know.
Okay. Why don't you sit over here?
That's fine. I'll stare at my own face the whole time. I won't focus.
Okay. All right. We'll just leave it on the edge.
Perfect.
Did Kristen start one of these with everybody here?
I have it, yeah.
Okay. That's right. I didn't need to bring it. My first question though is, how is it going with this checklist?
I think it's really helpful.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much.
There's a lot to do.
Yeah, and in fact, just yesterday I went through it and was checking out things that we have taken care of, and it's just a really good reference tool.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I would not be keeping this straight if I didn't have that.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So, okay. So, I kind of want to just start by going through this and seeing how everybody's doing. And then we can go back into the checklist, which Kristen's putting out a couple more of right now. And then what we'll do is next week, we're going to start to go into your specific business plan. Okay? All right. So, everybody's done with real estate school, obviously, in this room, yes?
Mhm.
You're licensed?
Yeah.
You are. Okay, all right.
Water's on, there's celebration.
Water's on, it's a big deal. Licensing activation meeting, everybody's met with Kristen individually. Everybody's done that? Okay. E-license account, register for your CREC e-license account. You've done that, I'm assuming, so everybody's totally set up with our real estate commission. You're looking at me like a deer in the headlight.
I'm trying to translate what you just said.
Okay,
Colorado
real estate commission?
CREC. Yeah, that's who issues the
Yeah.
license. Yes, I'm good with
You're all good, okay.
Sorry.
That's
Just
okay.
acronyms sometimes get me.
Okay, no, it's good. I'll remember that.
And there are a lot of
You guys are all set up with a board of realtors. Now, you may not be doing that.
She waited. There was something that we were waiting on because of waiting to see if there were two separate. Was it the MLS? The two were going to merge potentially, or there
That's
was
the
one
MLS. That's
Okay.
the MLS. So you've got Colorado Real Estate Commission, which is the state entity
Right.
that oversees everything, okay?
Okay.
Then you have the board of realtors.
I'm not on that yet. I don't believe.
Okay, and I don't know, you may want to talk to Caldwell about that or Carly and just decide whether or not you even need to be.
Yeah, I'm not. For initially, I'm not going to be doing this full time anyways, just because of Denver. So I don't know what the best thing to do would be. If I do need to be on it or not.
I don't know. You know what? If you talk to Carly and you guys kind of can't figure it out, have Carly give me a call.
Okay.
And we can talk about it.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $600. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think you have to do it in order to do transactions, to be a broker.
You do.
then I would have to.
Oh.
Well, no,
But
let me clarify the Board of Realtors. The Board of Realtors is a trades group that if the office belongs to, every broker in the office belongs to, okay?
Ah.
So I'm fairly positive that Kristen signed you up for the
Oh,
board.
I am. I'm signed up.
And you're signed up.
I just thought I heard.
Different company. So I don't know what your company's final policy will be on belonging to a board of realtors or not. I don't know.
Kayla is waiting until, because we haven't done our MLS and stuff yet, we're waiting until we do it. all at
Probably
once.
makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, there you go. There you go. You want a fresh one? Yeah, I think you're all right. Okay. So we talked about the board of realtors. So you got Colorado Real Estate Commission, which is CREC. You've got the Boulder Board of Realtors, which is what you both belong to. BARA. Kayla, you wouldn't belong to BARA if you ultimately go down that direction. You belong to one of the boards in Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when you belong to a board of realtors, there's the National Association of Realtors, there's the Colorado Association of Realtors, and then there's the local board of realtors. And what we're seeing is a merging of the boards into, for example, Denver went from like 9 boards to 3. Okay. And what will likely be next is, I'm assuming, the Boulder board at some point in the next 5 years will merge with all of the Denver boards and we'll just become part of them. But I think the first step is to obviously get IRIS blended into all of that. Okay. The next one is IRIS. So Real Estate Commission, Board of Realtors. IRIS is our MLS of choice at the moment, but we also have RE Colorado, which is, the Denver board, and we are in the most moronic talks of all time. Don't even get me started on it because they're all idiots. This could have been solved 2 years ago, but we should all just be part of the Denver MLS. Ultimately, we will. I'm assuming the two of you are on which one at this
IRIS.
point? You're on IRIS?
Yeah.
You're both just on IRIS for the moment? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As you start working down towards Denver, and that kind of DMZ, that line is really Lafayette and Superior is primarily IRIS. And the second you go over to Broomfield, as you go down the 36 corridor,
Right.
it changes over to RE Colorado. But there's definitely some crossover. Okay.
So if you had a client who is leaning towards closer to Denver after all, then you have to sign up to be RE Colorado.
Yeah.
You gotta have to.
They have a public site. And our site on fourstharrealty.com has everything on it.
You mean you can go into RE Colorado through the 4-star
Yeah.
website?
If you just
Okay.
search, if you want to see everything all together, you don't actually have to go to 2 MLS systems. You just go to the 4-star site and it's all combined.
But can you make an appointment as a broker?
No, you can't. It's a public site, so it's for anybody, but it's real time. And unlike something like Zillow, you actually see everything on the market. Okay. So we talked about RE Colorado and IRIS. Centralized showings. Does everybody know what centralized showings is? Okay, that's the system that we set up about 90% of all showings through. There are still offices that set up their own showings. Remax of Boulder would be an example of an office where they still have someone at the front desk setting up showings. You can also set up the showings for Remax of Boulder through IRIS. Literally, you just click on that, say, I want to set up a showing, and they get back to you that way. It's an antiquated system that won't last much longer. How about electronic signatures? Has everybody set up on DocuSign?
Yeah.
For the moment, I think, again, once we become full-time with RE Colorado, which is hopefully what will happen, we will all move over to ZTM. So we're going to have to learn a new online system, okay? MLS training. So for right now, I would probably focus my MLS training on IRIS.
Yeah, we go through the tutorials and
Okay.
videos.
Have you started doing that? Kayla, are you doing anything with that yet?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I haven't yet.
Okay, all right. So Michael, have you started doing the tutorial training?
I
for
did
IRIS?
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with having a day?
I don't know how to answer that question. Ask me,
How versed are you at working through the system?
I can get by.
Okay. Start watching 2 tutorials to 3 tutorials a week.
Really?
Yes,
Wow, there's so much to learn.
there is.
So much to learn.
Yeah.
Kind of overwhelming.
And for me, I would, if I were to just kind of be proactive about it, would I just stick to RE Colorado? I mean, I'm not even set up yet, but when,
Yes.
Okay.
If you were gonna be proactive, you'd sign up for RE Colorado. You're primarily gonna be working in Denver, so
Right.
that absolutely makes sense for you. Are you, I mean, what do you think your plans are as far as,
I was gonna try to, it's gonna be, the summer in property management's gonna be bananas. So I was gonna probably try to do like towards the tail end of summer. I know the market's not as quick, but I was really just trying to get like on my first sale by the end of this year. Really just kind of taking my time just because I'm still working.
all right,
So it's nothing pressing. So
okay.
yeah. So it really, Kristen, just, that's why she was like, well, we'll just wait, and then, because we have time anyways.
If you don't think you're gonna have time to really jump on the system for the next 4 months or 5 months, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would just, get through your property management season, and then at that point, when you're gonna have a little bit more time, the RE Colorado has the same tutorials.
Right.
It's a slightly different system, but frankly, just so the two of you know, once you learn one system, jumping into another system, it's kind of like once you know Spanish, learning Italian makes a whole lot more sense. You know what I mean by that? It's,
Yeah.
You understand a similar language. Okay. MLS training, again, we talked about that. DocuSign training, is everybody pretty versed in DocuSign and how to use that, electronic signatures?
I don't know how versed I am. Set up.
Once you start doing a deal, it starts to make a whole lot more sense. It's really not that hard. Have you found it pretty easy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You guys all did your ICA, independent contractor agreements, office policy manual, car insurance. Everybody set up on car insurance?
I have to bump mine up.
Okay.
I'm on 350, I think it's 500.
Can I have a pen I can borrow really quick? Thanks. I'm going to talk about one thing in the next sales meeting. I was having a conversation with an insurance broker the other day. It's not that expensive. Most brokers don't carry it, but getting a business professional policy for yourself, because you are technically your own company, isn't a bad idea. They're about $350 a year. It might be just something to consider, because there is a liability perspective as a broker.
What do you know about Legal Shield?
I don't. Have you been presented with something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, it sounded really great. They came in and presented at real estate school. And you pay your card, you pay a monthly fee. It's like $25. It's
For what?
It's called Legal Shield.
I get it.
And you have access to legal support through them. And they,
It's like calling a lawyer,
right.
you
they
answer questions and
Yep, and they are on hand for you if you're in a situation. You just call them up like,
is this just real estate stuff or is it
they have
anything?
different branches, but they specifically have the real estate people come and speak with us.
Okay.
It's called THS whenever we charter him for Sulzer, because they're like but that's more landlord tenant stuff.
That's landlord tenant
They don't
stuff.
do,
No.
what do you say?
So you all have the legal hotline. So if there's an issue with a
But we do have
real
the
estate
legal hotline.
transaction, well, the first thing I want you to do is call me.
No, you're the legal hotline.
I'm the initial place you need to call, and then we may go from there. Now, with that being said, that's for real estate issues. But if you're in a car crash with your clients in it, or somebody accuses you of stealing from a house or something like that, obviously the real estate legal hotline is not very helpful. We've never had one of these claims. But, you never know. You never know.
What's
Okay.
another one called? Do you mind writing it down?
The legal?
The tenant one.
But you're
Oh.
asking
Just
whether
give a name,
it's a
whatever.
general lawyer support
Oh, I don't know how to
situation.
spell it. It's like-
No, I'm thinking you just get an insurance policy to cover you for additional items.
So
So
why, the one we have is not enough?
the one you have is for errors and omissions insurance, but it's not for liability.
Errors and omissions would be a contract.
Right. Anything to do with the sales.
Okay,
Right.
so if I get in a car accident, things, then I'm not covered, other than the
Well, you're-
liability that we get.
If you're in a car accident in a business capacity, okay? So let's say you've got a client in the car
Yeah,
and you get in a car accident. Hopefully your car insurance is adequate enough that it covers any damages or liability that may occur as a result of that. And your car insurance should know that you occasionally have clients in the car. Okay? Because your car insurance may say, well, now, wait a minute, you were actually performing business and your insurance isn't for that. So we're only covering you for personal driving use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just good to make sure that you're covered on that.
But you have requested or you require that we have a minimum coverage.
I do. And the reason, at the end of the day, I mean, you are an independent contractor, but if they came back and sued me, I have insurance for it. But then what my insurance company is likely going to do is then go back and sue you. Because they're like, well, it wasn't anything to do with Rich, but because you're associated with the company, maybe not, there's a way they could, they could still sue me, But my insurance company will ultimately go back and sue whoever, and that's out of my control. Does that make sense? We'll talk about it more in the meeting next week. So taxes and commissions. If you set up an LLC, you can avoid self-employment tax. So I don't know if any of you have thought about setting up an LLC to be paid into, but it's not a bad way to go. I mean, honestly, for many years, I just got paid commissions to me, but I'm trying to obviously get my tax liabilities down as low as I possibly can.
An LLC is the way you found it? Is the one your choice?
About 60% of the brokers in the office who have taken the time to set up an LLC, just so they can, they basically, you have to do payroll. You have to, it's not a super simplistic process. And really the purpose of it is to avoid self-employment taxes. Let me tell you where it really starts to matter. And it probably doesn't matter at first, but I just want to plant this in your brain. When you start making over $100,000 a year, you absolutely should have an LLC for your real estate. Okay. That's really when it starts to make sense. Okay.
My CPA said it's a single agent, single person LLC.
Yep.
Single something.
Single, an individual, it carries through just to your Schedule C then. What did he say about it?
Well, I was looking into doing it as part, I'm an S-Corp with my Rico Fit compression gear. I was looking into just creating like a sub level to it.
Yep.
He said, don't do that. Go with a single person LLC.
Okay. All right. You guys all set up on email with 4-Star Realty?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which we will probably, unfortunately, change in 5 months, but we'll figure that out. Everybody has their phone set up so we can forward calls to you to your cell phone. We've talked about office computers, conference rooms. You guys know all about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about support staff. I think you guys Kristen probably went over all that stuff pretty well with you. How's everybody's on the website? Okay, this doesn't obviously apply to you.
It's just happened.
Just happened. And I know you're on the website. I've seen you on there. Business cards ordered. How about, and you don't have to do this, but a domain name to where like you'll take our website that's agent specific for you, and then it'll be like michaelrothschilds.com or something like that.
I did one.
You did one. Did you do one? Okay. IDX feed, again, something that I would say is maybe necessary, maybe not early on, where if instead of going, just go to 4-Star Realty's site, you can actually say, go to michaelrothschilds.com, and there's a full search that includes both MLS systems.
I haven't done that.
You haven't done that?
Nope.
Now the
Okay.
cost, like just almost $20 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, you can also just direct people to the main 4-Star site that does the same thing. Okay. Agent bio, done. Okay. Signs, again, signs, always say you can always order if you have a listing coming up that you know about. And your listing was in a condo, so it didn't matter because you couldn't put a sign up there anyway. But as you start to have, hey, I've got a listing coming up, a month from now, and it's going to be a house, and you need to have that sign, you should order from Kristen. Or if you want to do open house sign, same thing. Again, with the name change coming up, I would advise you do nothing at this point. Okay. If you need a sign, until then, I have the old yard signs. I have 4-Star metal signs you can literally put in the yard. Okay. Most of us these days lease the yard arm. We have the hanging sign, and then we That's all I have. So all I have anymore are hanging signs. I don't even have like the big metal frames anymore. I need to get rid of the last ones I have. I need to take them to the dump. Okay?
So those big things you're talking about, this is a really big deal putting that in the ground, isn't it?
They go do it. So when I lease those yard arms, so they go put them in the ground, okay? And then if, I think they may actually just have my panels at the sign company, and then they just go hang the panel on the yard arm and it's it. Or if, I don't know if Kristen actually has my panels here or not. She may, where they place the yard arm, Kristen goes puts the panel on, and then you can put a little rider at the top that has maybe the address on the website for the property, okay? The next one's a biggie. Complete list of contracts, which is your book of business.
Of contracts?
Contacts, excuse me.
Okay,
Contacts. How is your book of business coming?
I've done mine.
Okay?
Now I gotta get it going.
It's a constant job.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when your book of business is a constant adjustment.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Has it gone to Kristen?
No,
Okay.
that's the next step.
Yeah, and I always say to brokers, I say, you really are not in the business until you're starting to send stuff out. How's yours coming?
I think I just need to hand it over. You know, I keep looking at, yeah. And I feel like it's kind of a mishmash because a bunch of people, I only have their emails. Or some people, I only have their mailing address. You know, it's
Right,
not
same
like,
here.
you know,
So it's a matter of, I think, calling those people and getting the right information at the same time, introducing yourself as the best broker ever.
And that's what the point of that is, just to send out like periodic emails and like pamphlets and stuff like that.
Well,
just to kind of,
At 4-Star, we send out a couple things a month.
okay.
And that's just automatic.
You see, I don't want to do that until I've sent out
An intro letter.
thank you.
right.
Right.
Call it an intro, or
And are you gonna do that by hand?
I haven't thought about how I'm going to do
It'd be a
it.
lot for me. It'd be a lot of writing in there.
I'm going to steal your pen again. I'm sorry. I should go get one.
I have an extra one.
Do you have an extra one?
So once you put this pen back, you can borrow.
Is that why we would give it to Kristen because Kristen facilitates the sending of the periodic.
The mail.
Thank you.
Got it.
Newsletter and everything.
And we would just, and then moving forward, you would just update her when you would
So
add
we don't
someone.
have to do that. We don't have to manually do it ourselves.
Right, we just.
So the whole concept with the marketing is brokers don't do their own marketing very well. In fact, you're generally, as a stereotypical group, pretty horrible at it. And what happens is brokers send out one or two things, and that's it. So if you go look at other companies, I know there's a company that's about 6 doors down, and I was having lunch with one of their brokers, and he's like, yeah, we all got together, we created one newsletter, we sent one newsletter out about 6 months ago. And that's it. That's all they do. We send out a monthly newsletter with all kinds of just great stuff on it. Okay. And then we send out e-postcards that say, hey, you know, Susan just sold this house. Now you may be like, well, I didn't sell a house. It's like, it doesn't matter. You can take any list in the office. And that's actually completely fine. It's 4-Star sold this house, right?
Is it 4-Star or Susan?
It says 4-Stars sold this house, but it's got Susan's picture and name and phone number on it. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So it's fine to do that if it's within the office, and that's one of the advantages of being in an office with lots of brokers is that we're always going to have properties that we're going to advertise. So here's the thing: when you send out a newsletter, you're kind of sending out a foundation of I'm in the business, I'm a professional, and I'm sending this out, and it's going out every single month. Okay. And we know from any statistic that you need to be sending out something about 18 times a year. Okay. So the newsletter is 12. Then add to that your e-postcards that are just listed, just sold. That's another 6. So then we're at 18. However, that is all done via email, which is super effective and inexpensive. Your open rate is going to be somewhere between 30 and 50%. Is generally what we're finding. We're generally finding around a 40% open rate on those emails because if you look at them, they're great. I mean, they're all from scratch. They have all kinds of different stuff. They have market stats. They have, people like different things. So they have local happenings in the community. There's a goofy recipe in there, but I can't tell you how many clients love that stuff. We do a snow report in the winter.
It has to be stuff of value.
It has to be stuff of value. And so, if you look online and they're like, oh, well, we do newsletters for you. Generally, the stuff that are in those newsletters is how to care for your leather couch, how to plant a flower. I mean, it's pretty stupid stuff, right? So we try to have stuff that's a little more effective. All right. So you send out the newsletter, you send out the just listed, just sold, but then the question becomes, well, wait a minute, if I'm getting a 30 to 50% open rate, let's take an average of 40. What happens to the other 60% of the people on your list? And this is where the addresses come in to become important, is how are we reaching the other 60% of our clients? And the answer is you're not. Okay. So we're going to get into our checklist on what we can do, but the reality is we send out six postcards a year for you. I mean, if you want that as part of your marketing program. I can see the cost on that goes way up. So on the EE stuff, it's all 2 cents per name. And that's nothing we make money off. That's basically allowing us to have analytics. Do you know what analytics are?
Yeah.
Okay. So it allows us to have analytics. Who opened it? Who said, don't send me anymore? How long were they on there? What's your open rate? That's obviously the biggest, and that's how we study what our open rates are. And over time, our numbers have gone up and up and up. So now we do the postcard as well. Okay, well, that's 6 times a year. So 6 times a year, you're hitting everybody on your list. Or maybe you're like, I want to control my cost. Do your A's and your B's. Just send it to your best clients for now. And then as you ramp up, do more. Now, one thing I do, in addition to my USPS postcards, is like Boomerang. Do you know what Boomerang is? Do you ever get a consistent mailer from somebody that's like coupons, and they're actually pretty cool. They're like local, I think the last one, we get one from a lender every month. The last one was 2 free tickets to the Colorado Home and Garden, which is like $15 a ticket. Mm-hmm. And here's 2 free. Or Breadworks, free, buy one, get one free sandwich, or half price ski tickets at Eldora. And they're actually zip code specific. They're actually really cool. But what if you just sent those to your A's and your B's? All of a sudden, it's like and Linda Llewellyn just took a survey of the 50 she sends out every month, and about 30% responded saying, she sent an email to all of them and said, do you think these are worthwhile? 30% responded said, oh my God, don't stop sending these. These are the best thing ever.
Really? That's pretty high. All the people that responded?
Yeah. And all it is it's your face on this thing that says, here's a cool gift. Right?
What is it, boomerang.com?
Yeah. And
don't worry about that, because Denise Maslanka, she would send a Christmas card, and it would be worth $5 at Great Harvest Bakery.
Right.
Which I always went and used it. Not ever going to use her. I felt kind of guilty. But what's her cost? Is her cost exactly that?
Her cost with Boomerang, there's going to be some cost efficiency. Her cost, maybe she's probably working something out with Breadworks, right? But you don't have to hassle with it. Again, the whole issue with real estate brokers is they never are consistent at their marketing if they do it themselves. So what we've tried to come up with is a very cohesive list of things that you should be doing to generate business. So all this marketing really does matter a lot. And you've mentioned, well, I've done 2 deals, and you said in your last meeting, well, I've kind of been lucky. Well, you're talking yourself up, which is a huge part of it. It's really not luck, but you do need to start marketing to everybody so they really start to feel, hey, Michael's in the business. And everything I'm describing to you, it takes a while. It takes a year at least for this stuff to at least to really start sinking in, where you can we really get the phone ringing.
It needs to sink in both. To me, it needs to sink in them and in me.
Okay.
Both sides.
Yep. But now you've done 2 deals, so you're starting to feel like it makes a little more sense. Okay. And do you have that same? Do either of you have that same kind of anxiety around it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's okay. It's normal. It's totally normal. So I don't want you to get too worked up about it. It's every single broker in this office had to go through the same thing.
My
Okay.
concern is more like I'm the only thing I'm worried about with myself is the time that I think you mentioned it once too, like someone who does it part-time, who can't do showings, very consistently, that's more what I'm worried about. That's kind of why I'm like waiting until after the summer rush is over so I can, because luckily the Denver office is flexible, they're lax enough to where I can go to a showing at 2:30 in the afternoon if I want to. I shouldn't, but I could, and just sort of like, that's one thing I'm worried about, is I know I would most likely have to transition into either full-time brokering or work as a property manager part-time, which doesn't really exist. So it's like, that's more my anxiety.
Well, let me maybe help you kind of ease a little bit of that concern. So like Scott Martin, who's a property manager down in this office, he probably does 3 to 4 deals a year just off owners that want to sell. Okay. Which is great because he gets a couple leads just by doing that. Listings, once they're up and running, are generally less time consuming than buyers. Now, you haven't found that to be true, but because I know your listing was an incredible amount of work.
Right.
On the flip side of it, it was an incredible learning opportunity for you, and so I thought it was great. And you're closing, when are you closing?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Congratulations. That's great. They're a ton of work to get up and running, but once they are, let the showings happen. You can monitor it's going to take you an hour a day.
Yeah.
In a really crazy market. In a slow market, 10 minutes a day. The biggest thing you want to do is just study what's going on, what kind of showings are happening, what's going on in the nearby marketplace, and obviously keeping your seller very well informed about what's happening. Okay.
Do you think that time efficiency wise it'd be smarter for me to, because that's my ultimate goal is to kind of for the next few years kind of do like what Scott, like just like that amount of deals, like 3 to 4 to 5 deals a year, just kind of on top of what I'm already doing. So and do you think it'd be wise to only be a listing broker?
I don't.
No.
I think that it's wise. Look, there's a company in Boulder called Buyer Brokers in Boulder. There are other companies that just do listings. Now, I will say that with Karen Bernardi, she's so huge that I think that's okay for her. All right.
Just to be listed.
I think she has someone in her office where she's like, hey, here's a buyer, go work with them. Or she throws them out to somebody, she's getting a referral fee. She's not throwing away buyers, but Karen's been doing this so long, she knows what it's like to work with buyers, right? But my point would be, how good can you be if you just do listings, if you've never sat on the other side of the table?
Right.
What's the buyer thinking? I think the only good brokers are the brokers that can proficiently do both sides of the transaction, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to understand what the other side's going through and what challenges they may be having in order to not only keep the deal together, but maybe find areas you can negotiate and really, just understand the process. So you need to do both.
Okay.
You absolutely need to do both. And think about this, when you work with buyers and they buy locally versus working with sellers who are moving out of the area, what is one of the positive things about working with a buyer?
Sell their house later.
Sell their house later, kind of like an annuity. You're building up a database or a book of business in the local community of people who used you to buy. Crazy national statistic, and I will be honest, in Boulder, the statistic is not this dramatic, but a crazy national statistic is that within 30 days, most buyers don't remember the name of their broker. Like, by the end of this training program, you could run circles around 95% of all the brokers across the United States. Brokers in Boulder tend to treat their career more like a career, more like a craft, in Denver too, where they really take their job seriously and they are proficient at it, which makes the competition a little more challenging. But the reality in Boulder, there's probably 300 brokers that do really, really well at it. And there's probably 800 brokers that it's kind of a part-time gig for them. Can all three of you be in that 300, or Kayla, can you be in the 1,000 Denver brokers that are actual serious brokers? Absolutely, absolutely. It's just a matter of you taking it seriously and doing the things necessary. I mean, it's fascinating to me. I think of all the companies in Boulder, and I'm like, does anyone actually take a new broker step by step through a process of, here is what you're going to do? And the answer is, I haven't found one. I have not found one. It's like, here's your desk. I think so. Here's your desk. Go for it. I mean, I talked a lot to the guy down the street, and I was kind of flabbergasted how there was just, it's kind of like, here's your desk. Good luck. I hope you have an uncle, an aunt, or a friend that wants to buy or sell. And that's it. And the reality is the failure rate in real estate is about 90%, and there's a reason why. My failure rate with most brokers is around 20%, and it's getting better because I'm actually getting a lot more particular about who I hire. I told the guy last week, no thanks. That's becoming, I'm down to probably only hiring about 50% of the people or 40% of the people I interview. Where 3 years ago it was kind of like anybody and everybody, to warm body, bring them in. And that was a huge mistake, and it actually did not do us any favors as far as the culture of the company. One of the biggest challenges any of you have is having a book of business. So Kayla, I think about you, and you did not grow up in Denver?
No.
You grew up back east?
Yes.
So here's what you're going to want to do over the next 3 years. You're going to want to build a sizable book of business. What I mean by that is tenants you've had a good experience with, add them to your list. Basically, keep a list and create the list. Owners you had a good experience with, add them to the list, create the list. Friends in the community, people that you know, external activities you do. Maybe you're in a soccer league. Maybe you're in a ski club. Maybe you go to church. I don't know. But whatever you do, just start compiling a list of every single person you know.
Yeah.
That is your book. That is your Bible. Because in 3 or 4 years, when you get into this full time, you're going to want to have a big book.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That is what's that's probably the decision between a make or break. I had a young kid approach me the other day. He's great. He's fully energetic. He's like, I'm going to read a book a week. And this guy's an animal. He is so into it, being super successful. And I'm like, how many people do you know in the Denver area? And he's like, well, I know my girlfriend I live with, and I know like 2 other people. And I'm looking at him going, my failure rate with people like them is really high, to be honest with you. My failure rate with a 23-year-old kid that's super energetic, but has really had no work experience, knows nobody in this town.
Right.
I'm like, I can't hire you because you know what? You're going to fail here. Why don't you go work somewhere where you're in a cubicle around 15 or 20 other people that are in the same boat as you and see how it goes, which is what I did, which is great for people in their 20s. It's a great way to start.
I didn't even think about the tenants thing though, because I obviously interact with hundreds of tenants a week, so it's a good idea.
There's going to be some you don't put on that list, obviously.
Obviously, clearly, yeah. And luckily, I'll know who those people are and what their financial situation is like and their personality. But what ones I would have a positive experience with would be, and people. I mean, a lot of people who I deal with who are moving out or breaking their leases because they're looking to buy a house. So it's, yeah.
That's a huge opportunity to help those people.
Yeah.
The challenge you will have working with all those buyers is the time.
Yeah.
And if they've had a negative experience with the property management side of things, which a lot of them do, and that's not anyone's fault, right? They're like, wait a minute, you're charging me a releasing fee, you're charging me this, you're charging me that, you're taking part of my deposit.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to tell Scott when we worked in the same company, I'm like, or with anybody who's working with a buyer who's a 10 and a 4-star realty, I'm like, put $500 aside, because at the end of the day, when they do the security deposit requisition, just pay for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the whole experience was a waste of time.
Right.
You made some money, but they're never going to use you again.
Right.
Back to the book.
Sorry.
That's fine. Any questions on the book? You need to be thinking about modifying your book, sitting down with your book. I would have it like Fridays, 1 to 1:30 every Friday, or whatever works for you, where you go in and you're like, okay, I'm working on my book for half an hour today. I do this every single week. It's not even on my to-do list. It's literally in my calendar to do this, which is a much more effective way to do things. Like, does anyone else do that where they actually just, instead of having a giant to-do list, I take my to-do list and I'm like, this 2 block is for this hour block is for that, and I literally just cross it off my to-do list because now it's in my calendar. I didn't come into the office yesterday. I just worked out of my home office just because I needed quiet to refocus, and I was transposing everything from my old to-do list to my new to-do list because I'm still a legal pad guy. I can't get past it. And I said, instead of transferring, why don't I just do them as I go? And I did like 20 things off my to-do list. It was incredible how much I got done just being in a quiet space for 4 hours. And if a phone call came in, I'd call them back. I take a 15-minute block every hour to return calls.
So I have a question on just managing this list in terms of having it be accessible. Like right now, I got that spreadsheet that Kristen provided.
Yep.
This thing's sitting there, this huge, 200 names right now thing. To me, it just seems really cumbersome. Like,
It is.
how do you work it? How do you go into it, and how do you use it? Is there a better way than just going through this huge Excel sheet?
I'll be honest with you. I have the name of a couple of CRMs that I have not researched extensively. That's a client relationship management software. Okay. So there are now becoming software programs out there where you can just put all your data.
And then it tells you, like, today you gotta call piece 20 or whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
can use Asana too. What Denver Rocks uses Asana. It's like a task group. Like you can do like groups. You can do individual stuff. You can set projects. You can set deadlines within certain projects and set. They'll email notifications for different. It's cool. Asana.
Kristen and I use Asana.
I can spell that,
ASANA.
just like it sounds.
Yeah. And Kristen and I do it, and
You like it?
we share all of our tasks on it. And I have not played with the CRM component of it, and I don't know if there is a CRM component of it.
No, they're. I don't know about the CRM that Caldwell was talking about, something along those lines. But no, we just use basic, regular Asana. We literally just use it for project management. But you can color code stuff. You can add. It's really cool. It's really
Can you just dump this list in it?
You can.
No.
You can,
No, I think you're talking about 2 different things. This is project management. This is your to-do list.
Right.
This is client relationship management software. But there are similar programs, and Asana may do it. Do you think it does?
I don't know. That's what we literally just rolled this out like 3.5 weeks ago. So we just started, but we're just using it for everything moving forward. But we're just dumping like, again, project management, even just like parking spreadsheets for tenants. Like it's everything that we have all over the place. Marketing trackers for listings that we have, just like kind of trying to put everything in this one place. But it's really not. I don't know.
There's one that Courtney just sent me that's on Google. It's attached to Google. But let me tell you about CRMs. Have we talked about Top Producer ever?
You mentioned it.
Top Producer, even when I got into the business, was a big deal. And back then, Top Producer was like, I think it was a booklet. And then it went to like those DOS. You don't remember what DOS? Floppies?
The floppy. I know what a floppy.
Do you know what floppy is?
Yeah.
They were never that floppy. I never.
So then it was floppy. Then it was CD.
It was floppy.
And you would buy it, and Top Producer was sent to you. Now Top Producer is all cloud-based. Okay? Here's what Top Producer did. You had every name in it. A, B, C. I mean, it rated them. It did the whole thing. It popped up. Here's who you need to call. So I just, Bob and Susie would call me. Just, we love the house. Thank you so much. Or I get these calls all the time for those Yeti cups I give away. It's incredible. And someone sent me a picture yesterday. So Eve sent me a picture and, hey, love the Yeti cup. And I sent her thing back. In today's world, that now goes into the cloud and it goes under Eve and it shows all the correspondence I've had with Eve. Now Eve's pulled up on my screen. Maybe I have a picture of Eve and all. That's her husband and her kids and the kids' names and where I sold my house and all the transactions I've done with them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. And then it will say, you need to follow up with Eve in 2 months.
Nice.
So Yesware is another one that we use. That Yesware, it links up with Google Gmail, which is 4-Star Realty. Like I'm 4stardenver.com is my email thing, but it still goes through Gmail. And Yesware links up with that. And Yesware, you can set reminders. Like if you send someone an email that's really important, you can say set reminder in 24 hours, and then you can check. If no one responds, send a reminder, or send a reminder no matter what, even if they do respond. So that's a good way to track. Like, but you can set it months out. You can, even if you can.
I use Gmail's Boomerang. Not to be confused with the other bill.
Yes.
So does someone, yeah, some people in the office use that, but most of us use Yesware because you can also do, the best part of Yesware is you can create templates. So you can literally just go, like, these long emails that you have to send out, they're sort of redundant, but, you know, they're semi-consistent. You can literally do the template. You can create text fields to, like, you know, you tab through it and like type in the name, type in whatever date that applies to that person in particular, hit insert, and then it populates the whole email, including the subject line. And you can categorize that in that way. That just saves me, like, and then you can set a reminder to follow up in a certain number of days. So it's like
So
very,
yes, like YESWARE.
yes,
Where?
yes, WARE, one word, I
Yeah.
think. Actually, I haven't looked at the word itself in a while, but yeah, it's cool though. Good tracking stuff.
Yeah, I just feel like I need tools to help me be structured.
You do, and that's
Yeah,
what
and
we're,
that's
that's what
like-
we're starting to do. We've gone through the two parts of the agency, but now we're starting to talk about how you really set up your business, okay? Again, with the Excel file, we can import that. You can generally import an Excel file into other types of programs, okay? So, that's what I would recommend, is working with the Excel file for now, because it's such an easy way to move it around to other things. I mean, we can import it right into Constant Contact. Now, with Constant Contact, which is the program Kristen uses, there is a way for you to just, you know, I think there's a way to take your Excel file and just update it into Constant Contact constantly. So if you're updating your Excel file once a week, as you should be doing, then that gets imported into Constant Contact. So that
And it'll get rid of duplicates.
I believe so.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it will,
does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
which is good. So you're not, if you enter somebody again, you've got, they're already in there.
Mm.
It'll tell you, is this an update to an existing contact or, so.
Okay. So, does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one was set annual goal. We're going to do that when we get into the broker business plan. Create your marketing plan and budget. Okay. So that's the next thing. So we've got, you know, 4-star email newsletters. It's $48 based on 200 addresses. That's not right, because 2 cents per mailer. First 30 action example. I don't know why it's $48, but there must be a reason. It's 2 cents per mail and you send out 200. That's $4. What am I missing? I don't know. I will check. Anyway, that's just an example. But you might want to kind of, you know, we've got examples: 4-star email newsletter, 4-star email postcards, 4-star USPS postcards. Oh, this is per year. I'm sorry. That's why it's $48. This is annual broker swag. So we met with the marketing people the other day, and it was really fun because we're starting kind of the discovery process of the new name and all that. And one of the things that came up were my Yeti cups, you know, and how incredible that, how successful that's been. And what we thought about moving forward is for closing gifts is once we come up with a logo that looks really cool, you know, a lot of the feedback in the meeting and a lot of the feedback on this questionnaires we sent out to everybody was to have really nice swag, meaning, oh yeah, here's a Patagonia vest with our name on it. Here's a Patagonia, you know, fleece. Here's a Yeti cup. Here's really high quality things, all with swag on it. Well, we're going to do it for whatever the name of the new company is, but it's also something to consider doing for yourself. Now, I'll be honest, like those Yeti cups for me, they're $1,500 for 50. Not cheap, but the reality is people keep those things for
Ever.
And there is a perception of quality, you know, the perception of not junk, but something that's
right.
Josh Deck did those at the Denver office. He did these black, I don't know if it's what brand it was, but like these thermal, like Nalgene, but it's like it's not see-through. It's like almost like matte around the outside. It's black and it said Josh Deck, and but we all have them. They're really cool. And they're like, they look expensive. I don't know if they were, but he bought them in bulk.
Right.
But yeah, they're super cool. And yeah, it makes a huge difference.
My Yetis were probably $35 to $40 a piece. No, $35 a piece with the engraving.
Oh, okay.
Is that your picture?
No.
That'd be
I
No.
want to see one.
And now they're going to have to be a sticker over it as we change the name.
Right.
but anyway. So create a budget. Create 10 to 12 questions and answers all sellers or buyers should ask their real estate broker.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I was working on that yesterday, and I don't feel like I have a clear sense of what the
So,
exercise is.
Go to Google and I put in what you do, just questions, just Google questions every broker should ask their real estate broker.
What every client should ask.
What a client should ask a real estate
Yeah.
broker, okay? This is kind of a continuation of your bio. Now, your bio is great. Michael, your bio is great too. Kayla, I don't think you've written a bio yet.
Not yet.
And that's okay. But what it basically does is it helps kind of, it does two things. One is you now have a tool that, like, when you walk into my house and I'm like, I'm thinking of selling, Susan, can you come over and give me a value? And you come in with your buyer packet, and then you have, 10 questions every seller should be asking their broker, and they're questions tailored to your strengths. Okay?
So are you handing this thing to them, or you're asking?
It comes in the packet.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a 30%, that's the 30% reason you do it. The 70% reason you do it is because I want you to start thinking about what your strengths are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to go into a new listing thinking that you bring nothing to the table.
I'm so new, what could I possibly do for this person?
So you want to prompt them to ask you questions that you'll be really good at answering, essentially. Is that kind of why, like, just not so, I didn't put it well, but like you want to give them the 10 questions to always ask your broker, hoping that that'll open up a line of dialogue.
You leave it with all your other marketing material, because it's nice if they breeze through, they're like, oh, well, look, Kayla's got all these great questions and answers. Answers,
Oh,
right?
right.
So it has the answers next to the question. I'm sorry, I should have clarified that.
Yeah.
So it's got, Michael, give me 10 questions that actually are tailored to your strengths, and then I want you to write the answer right behind it.
Okay.
Okay? 30% of the reason is exactly what you brought up, which is what the seller may say, well, what are your qualifications? Well, here's 10 questions you should ask. 70% of the reason is just really, it's a confidence building exercise for you. That's why I have you do it.
Do you have one that you can show us?
I don't even use mine anymore. I can see if I can still find it.
It's engraved.
Well, see, but my strengths are going to be different than your
I
strengths.
know, but I mean, it just is a sense of,
Courtney has a good one. I wonder if I could find it.
Courtney Trice.
It's a wonderful exercise that I wish more brokers would do, because what it does is it basically sets a confidence mode that's incredible.
Right.
Okay, it really does.
Makes sense.
that's helpful. It would be fun to see somebody else's.
There's like 400 questions on Google, right? No, literally.
So there is, but then,
Because I hate, you asked me the question. I actually kind of hate presenting mine to you, and that's why it may seem so hesitant, because I'm going to start cranking mine off, and you're going to say, oh, no,
I can't do that.
I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm like, time out. That's why we're not going to do that.
Mhm.
When I started in the business, I was 26 and I looked 7. I think I had like 4 underarm hairs. Susan, you guys have no idea how late to the party I was.
Hey, remember what I was telling you about my nickname in college?
Cute.
I looked like I was 12 in college.
Right.
Did
Well,
you?
I understand, yeah. And
That's not, you know what's great about that? When you get older, you're like,
I know, like, finally.
I mean, I was in LA there, and they're like, you could not have possibly been in Jim's, school at the same time Jim was. Jim's a year younger than me. I'm like, I'm 51 years old. How old do you think I am? They're like, you're like 37. And I'm like,
Yeah, this is Boulder lifestyle.
I'm like, I live in Boulder.
Yeah, that's all you can say.
So,
Well, I was telling Michael my nickname in college was Q, the letter Q.
why?
Because, well, everybody kept trying to call me Susie Q, and I looked like I was 12, which you don't want to look like when you're in college. You want to,
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So I was like, don't call me that, and so they shortened it.
It
became,
sucked, didn't it?
Yeah, but it just became Q. So anyone who calls me Q to this day, I know from college, but
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Back then it sucked. Now it helps.
I know. I got my first chest hair when I was like 20. I was about 26. First one, I'm like,
What
the hell's that? These days, that probably would have been good, because, no hair is kind of the fashion
And
now.
that shave. Yeah.
And back then, it was Magnum PI, right?
Yeah.
Remember him? He was just like,
Tom Selleck.
That's where I stayed.
you're the Magnum? I had to start shaving every day, actually, I skipped it today, but, I think I shaved at noon yesterday, but, yeah, now it's a pain. I hate it.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do it morning and night.
My wife won't kiss me if I go 2 days.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It
So
hurts.
it hurts.
They sign a contract.
I've got this one hair on
They
my
didn't
lip.
sign a contract for
Sharon, this is all about real estate, by the way. I got this one hair on my lip that when my wife kisses me, it's like a needle going right into her lip.
Yeah,
Next.
it sucks.
Moving on. So,
Okay, the 10 questions. So you're saying if I go and Google questions to ask your real estate agent on Google.
Yeah.
it
You're
will
gonna
come up
find-
with-
That's what she did.
you're gonna find all kinds. It's 80. Good God. Someone had this set at 78. It's no, it's a confidence building exercise, and it's for you to say, well, what value do I bring? And you look at me and you're like, well, Rich is telling me I bring all this value, but I think he's totally full of shit. And I'm like,
That's a
actually,
value,
that is a value, huh?
I think.
Being full of shit.
No, being marketing yourself.
That's not being full of shit.
Oh,
That's,
okay.
one thing that all three of you bring to the table is a pretty high level of intelligence. You would be fascinated by the people that I interview.
I'm gonna write that down.
Why you should hire me?
No.
I'm intelligent.
Being-
No, you really will. I mean, you did 4-star. I've sat in interviews where it's just like, you're just like, yeah, it's insane.
So property management 10 years ago, Taylor, you'd have been blown away. You would not believe the people that worked in property management. It's a highly refined, very competent crew that works at 4-star now.
Mhm.
And that evolution has occurred over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And that has been the same thing with the sales division to some degree. But the things that you guys, you're not massively egotistical, which is not a great feature. Everyone's honest, they're intelligent, they care about customer service, they have a good personality. These are all traits that you have to have in real estate. And Kayla, this isn't true for you, but you're setting yourself up for it to be true. But for the two of you, you have a big book of business already.
I disagree with that, and we'll see.
Well, how do you know? Have you sent out your list yet?
Yeah, and they're mostly.
You've sent out a mailer.
Oh, no, I haven't sent.
Right. Right, so you haven't done anything
Okay.
yet.
Sure, I'll shut up.
So I'd love to know what your empirical data is to prove your point. Send out your list.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Write your broker bio. Both of you have done that, right? We, yes.
Yes, you helped me a lot on that thing.
Yeah. I thought yours turned out great. I thought yours was great too.
He says that to everyone.
I do not. How many times?
Really?
Wait, how long did we go? Was it a month?
What? Did we work on it?
Between-
No.
Between your dude and me?
No.
How many times did we slaughter it?
We did it 3 times, but it was a couple weeks.
And then Scott, right?
Yeah.
How many times did Scott tear it apart?
I only showed it to him the 3rd time after we'd
Okay.
done it.
What do you think of it?
He would have ripped it apart.
He would rip it apart again.
Oh, he liked the end. And I told you what he wanted at the very end, where it was, I will do this.
Yes,
And
I think he was absolutely right.
making it active. Yeah.
So 4 or 5 iterations.
4.
You, I think I read it and I thought it was awesome the first time, right?
I plagiarized all of it.
Even in
We're in
sales.
party, buddy.
It's all marketing. I
I know.
don't need to create the wheel.
No. New broker introduction letter by email and UPS. Okay,
That's the next thing.
next step.
That's
a
what
big
did you
one.
say? It was.
So
the
we are,
listing?
we're right here.
Right.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have it. New broker introduction letter.
Oh, that's what I want to work on.
Yes.
So
that's-
before you send out your first e-newsletter, you're going to do that.
Right.
Okay?
And is that strictly email? Or
No,
should I be doing handwritten notes?
no. That is going to be, that's not going to strictly be email. That is going to be,
Everybody.
ideally USPS. But I understand that you have some that are one and some that are the other. You
Yeah.
have to remember though, that if you send out anything via internet, your open rate's gonna be, you're not gonna reach everybody.
Well, they're all people we know, and they know that we're not sending spam.
Well, supposedly, yeah, but it can, your computer can
Auto
do that
spam.
for you,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even let you know.
Oh.
Like my sister, who has the global banker office on Martha's Vineyard, she's all about snail mail. She's adamant that you have those handwritten notes.
Snail mail is making a big comeback. And everyone got all over the internet, and then everyone's like, oh, open rates. Oh, well, no shit. Not everybody opens up every email they get. I mean, I'm the king of reporting spam. You know that little stop
Yeah.
sign with the exclamation point at the top of Google?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's great.
Sure.
And what happens for about a month is you just get pertinent emails. And then new people find you.
Things getting around.
And you have to go, like, again, you have to do
Yeah.
another round of reporting things as junk mail.
Hmm.
Okay? All right.
So what happens when you're handwriting?
Where do we get our
Our
ideas for the intro
I'm used to
letter?
being a journalist, so I write really fast. And
She's got samples?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not actually these handwritten notes.
Same thing.
But yeah, I think that's why my book of business is feeling so unfinished, because I have way more emails than I have addresses.
Mhm.
And I know the importance of handwritten snail mail. I do it. Find those addresses though.
Well, let me tell you how you're going to do that. Once you get familiar with Iris, do you have any semblance of where they live?
Mhm.
Okay. So they're in Boulder County,
Mhm.
and they own their house?
Mhm.
Okay. So what you can do is use tax records. Super easy
Through Iris.
to Iris. You just go
You
on.
can access tax records through that. right?
Oh, yeah.
So
There's a
that's-
thing that says public. It's like a Greek building icon.
Right?
Yes, it's actually Roman. I'm kidding. It is
It's gonna
Greek.
be big.
I believed it.
I think it's the Parthenon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Russell Crowe's coming out of it with the sword.
So you just go in there and enter their name?
Enter their last name, comma, first name, or just enter their last name. If it's Smith, you might want to enter the first name too, but don't enter Wrench. I mean, think about, okay, or if it's Chuck, why don't you put in Charles, right? You know,
Right,
because,
formal, yeah.
be formal on it, because that's generally how people take title, and bam, up pops the address. You're like, oh, you will get 50% of the people you don't have addresses for by just doing that.
Cool. Because I don't send Christmas cards anymore, so that's a big part of my snail mail addresses.
Do you still have that list? No?
It died, my computer crashed, and I lost this like
Oh.
2 years ago, and
Oh.
that went away.
Do you still have that computer?
Yeah, and I had been trying.
Okay, all right.
It'll make me cry if I start talking about it.
Okay.
You get the data recovered.
Yeah,
It just
no,
costs a lot.
no, they swiped it.
So, yeah, I have an external hard drive that I back up once a month, just.
Yeah, I got that. I thought it was working, but anyway.
Yeah,
Like I
lost
said,
my pictures once in my life, everything, and I
like
have no
hard-
childhood pictures at all, they're gone. So,
See, that's.
You don't have like pictures that come more.
house burned down. When I was
Really?
16, yeah,
Holy shit.
there was no internet,
No, I mean,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
That's terrible.
yeah.
What street? Just curious.
Green Rock Drive up in Millwood.
Oh, yeah.
So write your bio, intro letter, customize your email tagline. So did Kristen work with you on that?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, so, most, we're gonna need samples of that, so samples.
Like all your referrals are greatly appreciated kind of thing.
Exactly.
Most of them really annoy me. Like
So maybe
every agent, it's like,
Yeah, they're kind of the same too.
yeah, I mean, I thought about it enough to know what I don't like.
My tagline is no tagline.
You know what I want.
That would actually be hilarious. I have a client named John Mark, and his voicemail is, "Hi, this is John Mark. I'm sorry you've missed me. I miss you too.
That's great.
You don't forget him.
Yeah.
He's just, and you know, he pulls it off. If you knew the guy
Right.
totally pulls it off.
Mhm.
So,
And even bad publicity is still publicity. It's marketing, it's PR.
well, look
I-
at Donald Trump. I mean, is
Yeah.
there anything more true than that? He's a madman, right? I mean, I didn't mean to make a political statement. I
No,
don't,
it's
No, no,
okay.
it's
don't
okay.
offend anybody.
We're on the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
side.
I mean, he's a wild man, and it's like Teflon. Bad publicity. Any other politician that was having an affair, yeah, you're done. Well, now her career's irrelevant. Let's not kind of
Can
bash
anybody
her.
update me on that one?
What?
Just Google it.
Okay.
Just Google it.
She's just a lady making a living, man. I don't judge
Hey,
that.
she's not apologetic, and that's the great thing.
We're
Well,
talking
she-
about his wife?
No, we're
No.
talking about the lady they had an affair with.
Ah, thank you.
Sorry, Sharon, we're off topic. So, anyway,
Did anyone see the letter to the editor that you know what Amber Alerts are?
Yeah.
You know, missing. The letter to the editor in the camera last week, the title was Amber Alert. And then the person's letter said, has anyone seen Melania?
Oh my God.
That was the letter to the editor.
you know, that's just she must just be in such a bad space.
She knew what she was marrying. So.
No, she don't think she knew she was marrying someone who'd become the president of the United States. But
Well, she didn't want that, but I'm just
So all
saying.
her laundry is public. All her dirty laundry, you know, she
But when she
married.
chose to marry that guy, he was what he was now. Yeah. Except the president.
I just think it
But it's-
backfired.
But it's super easy. I don't think she was very well off, was she, when she married him?
She's a supermodel.
She was doing you've got what, 5 year good run, maybe making 300,000-400,000 a year. Yes. She's from a different country, right? It's super easy to say we live in Boulder, Colorado, and things are, we're not going to marry him. But, it might have been partly survival for her, right? She wanted to live this lifestyle, and
Yeah.
Well, that's my point. That's
She
why I think
chose
it
it.
probably backfired because now she's the first lady and now it's like, this is not what I intended when I married Donald Trump. This is not why I married Donald Trump. Because now this is just a disaster, but
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
she's hanging in there. Yeah.
Hang in there, Melania.
Yeah.
Order customized thank you cards.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I kind of wonder if you should do it before we change names.
yeah.
Because now we're into some printed material. I love handwritten thank you cards. Keep a stack on your desk. Write 3 a day. This would be awesome for you. Think about a tenant or an owner you have a great experience with.
Mhm.
Okay? You're like, oh, Bob and Susie, they were so nice to work with as tenants. And I know they're moving on to a different one, but you can write a handwritten letter that says, I loved working with you. I know in property management, things don't always go smoothly, but with you, I really felt I will miss you greatly, and I wish you the best at your new house. Then you come over here and you go, Bob and Susie on my list. Boom. This is where they moved to. I have their forwarding address. Hopefully they're dependent.
I do have everyone's 40 addresses, but it's actually it's a good point. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good
You
idea.
have the ability. The most successful broker I've ever met in my life that was new was a dental hygienist. Why? Because she dealt with 5 people a day, right? And then they'd come back and see her every year. I mean, if my dental hygienist went off and did some sort of sales, like, hey, I'm an insurance salesperson now. And this is the person that's working on your teeth, right? So there's like a high degree of trust. You get to know them. You kind of talk through the whole process.
Yeah.
They talk. I know her. I know where she lives. I know she's married. I know there's a lot of rattlesnakes around her house. I know exactly where she lives. I know that she's originally from the Berkeley area. She went to Berkeley. I know a lot about her, right? So with your job, as you get to know, as you find tenants and owners you really like and can establish a personal connection with them, you have this kind of instant source of creating relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point. I hear that.
Are you thinking, or are you-
I'm thinking,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it's something
You
else.
know how to write
Chicken
fast.
scratch, yeah. Yes, agree.
No.
Set up marketing meeting with Kristen. I hope you guys have all done that. Set up social media meeting with Austin. We talked about the e-newsletter, the auto marketing campaign. We talked about all this listing and buyer custom presentations. Does everybody know what those are?
What's that?
Yeah, say it again.
Listing and buyer custom presentations.
Listing and buyer.
So when you go on a
Yeah,
listing
yeah.
appointment,
We've done.
did you know in the industry that every broker has their own listing book that they've created? They do. They show up and they say, here's what I'm gonna do. Now, a lot of brokers just show up with like the company folder and they've stuffed a bunch of MLS sheets into it. And that's the extent of their proposal when they meet with them, okay? That is not the case with us. We actually have a full-blown presentation, not only when you work with a seller, but also when you work with a buyer, okay? So it's kind of nice. You're leaving them with something of value that
Well,
looks
that's
really slick.
the nice slick book.
It's nice
Yeah.
book. One thing you know about it, we have generic ones that don't have your name, but you can also order ones, and the first page bound right into the book is your bio page with your picture. So it's customized specifically for you. I recommend you order 3 to 5 at a time
Right.
because we change them. We make them better all the time. I mean, like, I have the revision for the listing presentation book in my head right now. Because, you know, Monday mornings we've been doing that, and I'm like, okay, we need to change up how.
Are you gonna change it finally?
Finally, I
The
just,
positions, you were asking.
I am.
No, I'm not asking about the timing.
No, I am. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So which one are you gonna put first?
Listing book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But don't wait for me. If you got a listing coming up, use the book we have.
No.
Farming. This is the next step. This is not something, I would do everything else first to get your business rolling. And then once you have the money, say, do I want to do a farm? Farming is where you solicit to a specific geographical area. Now, I've seen some brokers get a little more creative in their farming. What about farming to an apartment building that's all tenants? To say, have you ever thought about buying? We traditionally think of farming as sending mailers to a neighborhood once or twice a month. There's one neighborhood in Boulder, and I don't know why, that's the most coveted farming neighborhood anywhere in Boulder, and that's Table Mesa, which is southwest Boulder. It's the most southwestern neighborhood in Boulder. And that is by far the most coveted for whatever reason, and Steve Altermat at Remax in Boulder does the most. But what's crazy is then he's got, it's like clash of the egos, and he's got Bridget First over at 8Z and Eric Boy at 8Z, and there's like 2 or 3 of them. And then the owner of Remax over his kid, which seems so odd to me, who I've seen one listing with him down there, and they all farm it. It's like when you farm a neighborhood, you should look at the neighborhood and go, okay, does anybody else have a real iron hold on it? And you know, does anyone sell more than 10% of all the listings in this neighborhood or this condo? And if the answer is no, then maybe that's a potential area to farm. Farming's expensive, and farming's a long-term proposition. I've had brokers in this office that are like, I want to farm 700 units. And I'm like, okay, it's 71 cents per mailer per month for each of those names. Do you really want to do this? What if we took, like Ben Oliver, what if we took 4 blocks this way, 6 blocks this way, which is going to cost them $60 a month or $50 a month, maybe get 1 listing a year, but it doesn't start producing listings till year 3. Maybe that's a better way to go.
To year 3?
Till year 3.
Till year 3.
Right. So let's assume it's costing you $50 a month to market to your, you know, your very specific neighborhood around your house, or 70. Let's say $50 a month.
That's
So
$1,600 for a year.
$600 a year, right? So it's going to be $1,800 for
So
3 years.
If you get a listing, that's totally fine.
If you get a listing, that's totally
In that
fine.
neighborhood.
From it's
Linear.
produced out of that farming process, right? Now, most people, and why we really focus on relationship-based marketing, is because most people sell their homes through somebody that they know. But that's not true for everybody. And if you look at other markets in America, it's absolutely not true at all. Have I told you about the study they did down in Irvine Ranch? So there was a huge marketing company in Irvine. And Irvine is a city that's in Orange County, California. If you've ever been down there, you got LA, then Orange County sits below it. Irvine's this city that used to be this giant ranch, and they master planned an entire city of tract houses and strip malls. Congratulations. So anyway, it's getting a little dated, but you know, you can buy a typical Irvine ranch house for somewhere between $9 and $2 million. It's expensive in Southern California. So what this marketing company did is they did a survey, and they sent out a survey to like 10,000 people and said, we're trying to figure out, who do you associate with being the real estate broker that you would use when you sell your house, which real estate broker you think sells the most houses. If you're not going to use them, who would you use? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So they sent out like this 10 question survey. Then what they did is they spent like $50,000 and they marketed to this neighborhood for 6 months, like twice a month, with a fictitious realtor.
Oh,
It was not even a real person. And then they sent out the same survey again. And everybody in the neighborhood, not everybody, like 70% of the people in the neighborhood thought, this is the guy you call.
not even real.
Marketing works.
Marketing.
But you're
works.
saying here it doesn't.
I'm telling you here that it's not as, again, you're in a little bit more of a sophisticated environment. I mean, I literally going from Boulder and being a well-versed realtor and then going to Columbus, Ohio, you'd crush it. You would crush it because there's probably 4 brokers in Columbus, Ohio that have figured out what 100 brokers in Boulder have figured out on how to be successful. You know, you've got to market. You know, out in Columbus, Ohio, you could probably take a neighborhood that no one's working and you can farm it like mad. I might even figure out where nobody lives that's a broker that's farming a neighborhood and move right smack dab in the middle of that neighborhood. Be like, I'm your neighbor. I mean, one of the neat things about farming is let's take your neighborhood, take a picture of you outside of your house. It says, I live right here on 23rd, 4th, whatever, 25th. I live right here on 25th Street. I'm your local neighbor. I'm your local broker. I live right here. This is my house. Please come by if you ever have any questions about real estate or call me. Okay? And you pick 100 homes, right? 100 of your closest homes. And all of a sudden, you know what? After a couple of years, there's going to be somebody that's like, I don't really know anybody. I can't remember my broker's name.
Right, I need somebody.
Or, you know, they live out of town. Mom lived in the house. Mom got moved off to an Alzheimer's unit. So now they need to sell the house. They don't know anybody, except they keep looking in the mail like, who's this Michael guy that keeps sending me mail? Let's just call Michael. He lives in the neighborhood. That happens. But anyone who does this has to assume that in the first 3 years, you'll get nothing. And you're going to invest $1,600 or $1,800. And for a lot of brokers, it's like, could I invest my money more wisely somewhere else? Maybe, maybe not. I don't like to personally farm my own neighborhood because I don't like to drive down the street and see my sign. I come home and I want my own little sanctuary where I don't have to think about work. And I have sold homes in my neighborhood, and when they've been on the market, even in slow times, you drive by the sign, you're like, please sell. You know.
Well, people know you at this point too in your hood. I'm sure they know. You don't have to be advertising yourself to your neighbors at this point.
Some, no. I mean, in my neighborhood, I know like 4 neighbors. I'm not, you went out and you created the Easter egg hunt and you did all these things, and really, that's not really my forte. Where do you live now?
Inca Parkway, Clay Commons Court.
Yeah.
Series of condos.
Are you doing an Easter hunt or something?
No, because I don't live in my old neighborhood anymore. But yeah, for 20 years, I organized the neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Then that was the spring and the fall. I created the end of summer block parties.
Oh.
Do you think you'll live in Clay Commons for a long time?
I'm renting, so.
Maybe, maybe not.
Next year, I'll do that in my neighborhood.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
You can
everybody
give me
loved
some
it.
Tips.
Yeah, I did it really easy.
I have 2 little girls that are gonna organize it for, and
No, it's
might as
really
well
easy.
promote it.
I'll give you mine.
Thanks.
Little kids, sports activities, kids activities.
Right.
Wonderful way to meet new
How
people.
old are your kids?
I gotta tell you, I'm having a hard time being there and just socializing.
Really?
Yes, believe it or not. I think that's hurting my business, and I feel like I'm socializing just because, I need to socialize to increase my book of business.
No, I understand that.
And
I used to do
I'm
the same
having a
thing.
really hard time with that.
Yeah.
I actually, with my buddy Bob, who's become a great friend, our daughters were on the same soccer team. And by and large, not many people on the rest of the soccer team could stand us. Because we were the dads running out there trying to get the kids to do the tunnel when they're like 16. They're like taking soccer seriously, and Bob and I were out there. I think we maybe brought pom-poms once. I mean,
But you were the fun dads.
I was a clown.
Right.
You know what? I didn't worry about going around and meeting all these other men and women. I thought most of the guys were these morons yelling at the ref and taking this like it's an NFL game. And I'm like,
Well, here's an example of what I know exactly what you're talking about. So there's a fundraiser for this guy who had a stroke, and he's got 2 young kids. And his wife actually used to work for my ex back in the day. So I get invited, and it's gonna be at a brewery, and it's gonna have a silent auction, and, you know, you have to pay to go, and I was, you know, part of me was like, oh, God, like, the last thing I wanna do is be around more stroke stories, you know, like, I lived hell because of my ex's story. But then I started going, okay, let's do the business brain. I'm gonna know some people there. There's a lot of people I don't know. A lot of these people don't know I'm now in real estate. So I kind of felt a little like,
You're motivated?
well, I kind of feel opportunistic or manipulative.
Right,
Like,
that's how
I'm
I
gonna,
felt.
I decided I'm gonna pay $30. I'm gonna go, be visible. Who knows who I'm.
Have you
gonna-
gone yet?
No, it's coming up. It's April like 8th.
Okay.
So I just like said yesterday, you know what? I got to get out of this personal mindset and get into the professional mindset. So this would be a good thing for me to show up at, you know, to be visible, and people will be like, hey, you know, how you doing? You know, a lot of these people know my ex because it's a cycling world kind of a thing. So I'm thinking, well, this is a good situation to be visible at, after all, even though I'm kind of inside feeling like this is a sad story, and I'm going to be trying to be opportunistic.
I think I would change my mindset on that. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
I don't
now.
think you're opportunistic. I think you're just networking at an event that you have some you can relate to. You paid $30 to go be part of this. You don't have to be networking with every single person there. Why don't you know? Like I remember once I went. Lance and Allison. Lance played in a band. He got his band back together, and they had this big thing at a place called Henry's in Louisville, which is this dive bar. And they were not ready for what was coming. Not Lance and Allison, Henry's bar. They had like 2 bartenders. And you literally within 3 blocks of Henry's, there were 100 Subarus and there were 400 Patagonia polos, fleeces, and vests. You get the scene, right? I mean, that's their whole group.
Mhm.
And Lance played, and I watched Allison work the room, and Jen and I just sat back, leaned against the wall after taking 20 minutes to get a Budweiser.
Hmm.
Because they were just they ran out of booze. They ran out of booze at like 9:30. I'd left, of course, because that was past my bedtime. But for most of the people that were still there, they literally drained the bar. And I just sat back and just watched Allison walk around the room.
Mhm.
She just worked it. She just worked it. How are you? And she'd say something about him, and maybe that brings you guys stress. You know,
I feel I'm working it. That's my kind of.
The only thing that that like makes me want to throw up the thought of like knocking on my neighbor's door and like, here I go. Like I hate that. Like I'm total.
but I'm not.
Like,
I'm not telling you to do that.
no, but like even just the thought of like networking. Like my big thing is like I'm not a kid, but I'm also more than likely I'm gonna be talking to people like even like if it's my dad's age, you know, like they'll still kind of see me as like, hey kiddo, like, you know, like it's hard for me to like, hey, like let me sell your house for you. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of my whole thing. So
let me tell you what's going to happen. That takes years.
Yeah.
So my dad's friends threw me some bones early on, but I knew that they were like, oh, well, you know, this guy that was their age who had been kind of the go-to guy forever, they weren't going to use because they were going to throw me a bone. Right?
Right.
So a couple years of sending out your marketing materials, getting some things under your belt that are unrelated to your existing sphere, maybe meeting some new people, maybe meeting someone that just knows you from a real estate capacity, and getting those couple things under your belt, all of a sudden, year 4, you're into it, and you know, maybe somebody, your dad's friend says, hey kiddo, it's like, how's it going? And you're like, and you just like, wow, God, real estate's been great. I've had such a successful 4 years. I'm so happy I'm doing this. This, and this are going on. And all of a sudden you can start talking the talk.
Yeah.
And there's a paradigm shift with them. And all of a sudden they start looking at you as a totally different person.
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years, yeah. I still won't even be 30 in 4 years, so I'll still be. Yeah, no, that's totally true. That's a good point.
You're only gonna be, and that's the other thing. You're only going to be 30.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're cranking at 30, great, great. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Here's the other thing to think about, and I think I drew this graph last time. I'll draw it again.
I have to go this way.
All righty.
I don't know. I have to be back in Denver at like 11:45, and it's 11:10.
Go.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
See
okay,
you next
okay.
week.
Sorry, guys. Yes, I will see you next week.
See you next week.
I do this every time. I always forget to lose track of
You're
time.
fine, you're fine.
Okay, so everything, car keys, oh, all good? Okay,
Leave it open, please.
okay. You want me to leave it open?
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. Nope,
See you later.
See you later.
I think you were both here for this. I've had a lot of brokers come to me with I don't think you were here.
No, I think I recognize this.
Do you recognize this?
With
Remember the brokers that
Starts low.
want to do their organic growth?
Right.
Right, and they kind of do like this, and you hit year 7, and you're making $60K a year. That's from organic growth. That's just from going out talking, really not
Pushing.
pushing.
Volume 2.
Then there's the person that's like, you know what? I don't really want to wait for organic growth. And I know my first year is still going to be pretty lackluster. You know, year 2 is a little better. Year 3 is a little better. And by year 4, they're making $100K. And that's at year 4. Okay. Now, these guys didn't work as hard. They didn't get uncomfortable. They didn't make as many mistakes and push it. But they also will complain to me about how they're just not that busy. Or they might complain to me at year 3. And what happens is we have the talk of, yeah, your whole theory of organic growth, you know, is kind of bullshit. Now, I've had one broker that's very successful in this office. It's like, I kind of do organic business. And, you know, 2 years ago or a year ago, he's like, God, this new lady in the business it was in his sphere of thought. After how much fun it was that he sold my house, she should get into it. And she's like, yeah, I'm closing 3 or 4 a month. And so what happened was I told him that, and all of a sudden he changed his trajectory, and he did like that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't wasted those first 4 years. Now, Michael, there's the whole dial thing, right?
Right.
You know, and I think what you're struggling with is how far do I turn the dial where I'm not obnoxious? And I think you're struggling with it with this event you're going to as well. I hear that. So.
But at least I know I am going to have people asking me what's going on because of my recent history. The people know about the divorce. They know big changes with my ex's, you know, the whole health story. And they're all going to want to know, how are you? You know, where are you?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Right.
So I will have an opportunity without it being opportunistic, because people are going to be curious. So hopefully something will come up.
Well, that ultimately is how you will both want your business to grow and be known as that you're a real estate broker, okay, and that you will grow this into a big business where it's 90% referrals. It is hard the first couple of years, and so a lot of brokers supplement that with open houses and things like that. When I moved back to Boulder, I was that young kid that had no sphere at all. I'd been gone for 6
You grew up
years.
here too.
Didn't matter at all. You know, people thought of me. I was a punk kid. So anyone that was older that might use me was like, he's a kid. Why would we
Right.
use him? You know, there was no reason to use me at all. At all. So I think I maybe sold my parents 1 or 2 things. I think I sold one of their friends 1 or 2 things, and that's it.
Yeah, but getting things under your belt makes a big difference.
It does. And that was over 3 years, by the way. So I
And
didn't.
that's amazing. You've got 2 already.
Yeah, I'm happy.
So what I did is I started doing open houses. You know,
So that you get people walking in who weren't
Yeah.
represented.
who weren't represented, and I knew that for every 8 open houses, I'm not that great at them. Like Mary or Allison, every 2 open houses, they're picking up a lead.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I knew for me that for every 8 open houses, I would close a deal. So I would do 8 open houses a month, which meant that I worked every Saturday and I worked every Sunday. And I would.
So working for some other agent, you say that.
Yeah, I find now it's tougher in this market because everything sells so quick. But generally, there are listings out there. It's just that you have to be a little bit smart about which listing you take. Excuse me. So what's going to happen is the market will start to slow down a little bit, and it will. Rates are going to go up. You know, the market will soften, which isn't a bad thing, because what it will allow you to do is start having more open houses, and then meeting people, and then actually having things to show them that didn't work on the market for 3 days. Something may sit on the market for a month,
Right.
right? And that's great.
For open houses.
for open houses.
Yeah.
So one luxury I had when I first got into the business was I held an open house every Saturday and every Sunday. And my open houses ranged between 2 and 5 hours, which is kind of insane. There were no smartphones. There were no laptops. You couldn't watch a movie on your phone. No. Your phone was like this big clunky brick thing that had 19 minutes of life, and that was it. Okay. So I would walk in with a newspaper, and I would read the newspaper for like the first 2 hours as when people weren't there, or I would work.
You fell asleep too once.
I fell
we heard
asleep.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was dull as heck. And I have kind of still nausea thinking about, doing open houses.
Were you doing it in Boulder? Were you always mostly here?
No. Lafayette, Louisville, Longmont, Boulder,
Everywhere.
Superior, wherever the hell I could get an open house.
Right.
And that's how I built my entire book. I
When you say
literally,
to get one, it means you're asking agents, can I sit in your open house
Yeah.
for you? And they're like, yay, because they'd
Yep.
rather not do it.
absolutely.
Did they pay you?
No, it's
It's a
a favor
privilege.
to you. It's a favor to you. So, yeah.
And it's good for them too.
It's good for them. There's most sellers are like, yeah, whatever, if you want to do one, do one. But, as the market slows down, it's, the sellers may want open houses. The broker, like me, for example, doesn't have time or doesn't want to work on a Sunday to do an open house. Yes, you can do it. And, like what I would have done, and you two didn't know this, but with some new brokers in the office, my listing over on Chester, and I listed it on a Sunday night, and we put it in a contract on Friday. That was always the plan. They should have been doing open houses between 4 and 6 o'clock
In the weekend.
during the week.
Right.
During the week.
Oh.
You just said, I have an open house deal, and I catch everyone that comes home from work. I see a lot of other companies doing that, where they're doing open houses during the week.
Right, the weekday thing.
We take think, why not?
Right, we're coming home from work. We're already in the mode.
Yep.
So, and the thing is, with this market being so quick that I'm concerned about, once I get lucky enough to be in this situation, our learning curve is going to be so short because we're not, we're going to have offers being placed on a property and you've got to act fast because other ones are going to be coming in and it's going to be like 100 miles an hour. That's going to be a little scary because you'll be sitting there with us when we're in that situation, I assume.
What offers, when you have a listing and offers come in? Or?
Either way, I mean, if I've got a client and we're trying to put an offer, say on a property, whatever, I mean, and there's going to be 5 other people probably trying to do it too. So you don't have the luxury of like going back and forth and talking about what you want. I mean, it's going to
have to be quick.
it's going to be a little stressful
It will be, but
when you don't know what you're
Rich
doing.
is here to,
Michael's been through it twice.
yeah.
And was it really boom, boom, boom?
Well, when the buyer was totally out of control. And it was 24 hours of rushing and not knowing what I was doing at all. But he was always there and guided me through it, and you can do it.
It's nuts. But here's one thing, and we'll stop on this. One thing that is really good to do is when you get your first buyer, your first seller, and go, Rich, I'm meeting with him on Monday, and it's Thursday. I'd be like, why don't you fill out a buyer agency contract for me and send it to me today? Send it to me in DocuSign. I don't care. I'll sign it, whatever. We'll make it up, whatever. Let's get a little practice going here. Let's see what your buyer agency contracts look like. Michael's contracts are actually pretty good. And by the way, the sales contract, and I don't know if you've seen this, there's a whole book that I wrote that just walks you through the whole thing from A to Z, like every single blank. How do I fill it in?
I've seen one of those, yeah.
But what's actually better, in my opinion, is going back through the notes that we wrote
Yeah, what
on.
we've done.
You've got it. You've got everything written right here, right?
Yeah.
So
Like I said, it's just going to be the speed. That
it's going to freak you out. And so what's going to happen is when you meet with them, you'll have your buyer agency done. And you're like, Rich, we're going out to look on Wednesday. We met Monday. Oh my God. Fill out a contract. What are they going to look at? Well, we're going to look at these 4. Okay. Fill out a contract on one of them. You send it to me in advance. I'll print it out. I'll write on it. Is that what I did for you? Or did I just respond and say, change this, this, and this, and this?
No, you wrote the first one. For my buyers, you wrote it.
Yeah. It was, we had just not even gotten into training yet.
No.
I mean, there was nothing Michael could do. So I just wrote the contract for him. The contract that would take Michael 2 hours takes me like 7 minutes. But I was, boom, there you go. And you got it. But the reason Michael got it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with him. That's true.
And I had you do it before we even were in agreement with the buyer to go in it. I mean, he wanted, but there was a lot of variables.
Yeah.
The loan, he had a loan letter for 250 and we were offering 300. But he did it already, so we were ready.
It was crazy. The buyer was pre-approved up to 240,
250.
250.
Yeah.
But Michael and the buyer was kept pushing and pushing. And I'm like, I don't see how this is going to happen. And at the end of the day, the buyer's got family involved and said, I can go to 3.
Yeah.
310.
But there was a deadline for submitting an offer and we pushed it way past. It was 6 o'clock and we went all the way to midday next day. And we got it in really everything last second.
Yeah.
I was nuts.